welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I'd do a little bit of a video. I'm going to start a series called Maps and Monsters, which is all about my special side project, which is a Dungeons and Dragons roleplay game setting, which just means it's a built world campaign. I originally recorded this video while talking, but only to discover later that, of course, it hadn't actually been recording my voice. So I figured we'd speed it up a bit, and rather than sort of narrate this whole video to you, I thought I'd just let you sort of watch a speed drawing and speed paint of this map I've made. This map is of a temple that houses dualistic worshippers. They worship the relationship between water and earth. And in my setting, frogs, which are a playable race, have a tendency to worship these dualistic natured elements. So when drawing this, I'm keeping in mind that this is cantilevered over a lake. You'll see that at the entrance there's some stumps that bring you into the temple, but also that all of the temple is actually basically on a dock or a deck out over the water. I've done the original drawing on some graph paper, and I'm tracing it here onto watercolor paper just so it can add some color to it. The original drawing is scaled so that each square represents 5 feet. In most roleplay games, 5-foot squares are representative of the amount of space that a person takes up. Obviously, that's not entirely accurate, but that's how it's done in roleplay games. 5-foot by 5-foot squares. So here I am. I'm just adding some little bit of indication of where those 5-foot squares are throughout. Hopefully they kind of blend out later once the color has been added. I'm also going to come back and thicken the walls with a 0.3 micron pen. Right throughout most of this, I'm actually using a 0.03 micron, this little tiny thing, and I'm already switched this bigger one, 0.3, to sort of outline the walls and the interior walls, just to give people a better idea of what they're looking at. So there's a whole ritual that takes place in this temple. When you first encounter this temple, it may be under siege or besieged by some local invaders, just depending on how the game is being run. I'm going ahead and adding some piers outside of the temple so that when you look at this, it exudes the fact that it's out on water. So there's ripples coming out from those piers. I actually prefer how this turned out in ink, having now seen the completed watercolor. I just think it looked a little classier beforehand, but this is all a learning experience. I'm not great at either pen and ink or watercolor, and that's why I'm here. It's to get better, and I just gotta keep telling myself that. I'm going ahead and adding some lines to represent wood-floored panels. Actually really like how that effect turned out. I kind of just dipped my pen in and out to give sort of a very light look for an effect. And later when I paint that, I'm able to get some variation in the board color because of that. Not that I love how that turned out either, but that's okay. It's all a work in progress. that central hall I intentionally wanted to be dark. So you'll see later when I paint that actually ends up being a different color entirely than the rest. There's the finished line work for the map. And now the next day, I'm coming in for the watercolor part. As I mentioned, this didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to, but experience will out. The more I do this, the better I get, I hope. So I have a goal this month of completing all 3 temple buildings that are in this setting, the maps for them, that are in this particular part of the setting that I'm writing. I have a hard time here keeping the edge wet. What you'll see is I prematurely went all the way around, and then when I layered this color on again, it gets a very variegated, kind of ugly right here. See that overlap? That's because the edge of the water wasn't wet. And so each time I come and do this and try to make it better, try to blend it out, it just doesn't work. The paint is a little too staining, or a little maybe not staining enough, I'm not sure. And it just won't move for me. Oh well. So now I'm just going in and painting the floor in all these little rooms, and in the main temple area at the bottom. This temple, since it's cantilevered out over the water, it actually just opens up directly over the water. So the end of the temple doesn't even have a roof on it. That larger, wider dock at the edge is completely exposed to the elements. And that's supposed to help give the frogs who perform ceremonies in the temple better connection between the earth and the water. Just going in and adding some yellow to those light sources. Don't love this. I add a little bit more color later. When I added the red, it was a little bit too wet, and a lot of the color kind of leached out. But I guess it gets the point across of what I'm trying to do. Then I'm just coloring some of the furniture in here. There's just some benches, shelving. A deeper color to contrast with the rest of the interior environment. There's that shadow violet again. I just can't help myself. Really like that color. Really like it for shading, for like rocks. Anytime a deeper color really comes into use. Now I love how this first round of shadowing in the water came out. I should have stopped there. This is going to get darker, and it's going to be muddier. Live and learn. Now I'm coming in to try and give some contrast to the wooden panels. Just to add some variation. I think, yeah, at this point it's still way too light. I do come back and darken everything up, and that helps a little bit. It's not so bad. It doesn't turn out so bad. Now here I am darkening up the water again. I was trying to get rid of some of that ugly edge blending effect that I made earlier on accident, but I don't know that it helps. I prefer the darkness of this color. I think that is nice, but it doesn't necessarily look better than it did before. I also have lost that very pretty shadow that I was able to make earlier. So I'm kind of just allowing this new color to be more of a shadow color. Yeah, so I'm just darkening the whole tone of the floor down a little bit in an effort to try and make those boards pop out a little less. It was too stark a contrast. And just adding some more pops of color to those fires. That's pretty much it. I look forward to you stopping by my channel again. Have a great day.